What is up, guys? So Sports back again with another video, and in today's video I have 3 underrated and 3 overrated teams for this upcoming NBA season. Now I'm going to start off with the underrated teams, and for the underrated teams I took 3 teams that I believe made some great moves this offseason that maybe aren't talked about as some of the bigger moves that we see in the NBA. And I think these are teams that are being written off by analysts and stuff that I don't think they should be. Well, so getting into it, for my first team for the underrated teams, I said the Chicago Bulls. I thought the Chicago Bulls had a great offseason. They drafted Kobe White when they were in desperate need of a point guard. I thought that was a great pick. Would have liked to see them take Darius Garland, but I'll talk about him a little bit later. But I mean, yeah, a great pick. He played well in Summer League. Didn't start off particularly well. I thought he was a little bit too flashy, so hopefully he can turn that down. And then they drafted Daniel Gafford in the second round, who's an high energy type guy. I like that pick. And then they went out and they made some good free agency moves, signing Thaddeus Young and Thomas Satoransky to relatively cheap deals, considering what most people are getting nowadays. And I mean, I think this team is probably a playoff team. I mean, considering you have your all-star-ish type player in Zach LaVine. I mean, it's a guy who averaged 25, 5, and 5. Not many players are able to do that. You have Lauri Markkanen, who can give you 15 to 20 with 7 to 8 rebounds, and you got Wendell Carter Jr., who's a great defensive guy. And then I mean, yeah, you just made some great moves this offseason. You also have Thaddeus Young, who's a great player. And in my eyes, Thomas Satoransky, I don't know how much he'll be able to do for you guys, but I think he'll be a great piece for you guys. And you just got all these pieces, this key depth, key veteran leadership in Thaddeus Young. I think it'll work out well for them. Hopefully Jim Boylan can, implement a better system than the one he had last year. I mean, last year was a disaster for them, so hopefully it doesn't replicate something like that. But I think overall, I could definitely see them in the playoffs. I just wouldn't be surprised if they did make it. So moving on to my next team, I feel like this team is kind of a reach, but I kind of wanted to include them in this. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't think they'll be as bad as people are making it out to be. People are saying, comparing them to the Hornets and how they're going to have a low teens, high teens, low 20s type season. I don't know. I think they can definitely reach high 30s. No, maybe not high 30s, but low 30s, considering how much players play. I mean, last year the thing with the Cavs was Kevin Love played, 20-something games? I mean, obviously they were going to be bad if your all-star player is missing 60-plus games. So if they have good health coming into the season, I think they can definitely hit that, mid to low 30 mark. I mean, considering that they had a pretty good draft in my eyes. You draft Darius Garland, Dylan Windler, and Kevin Porter Jr. I mean, Darius Garland, in some eyes, are seen as the second best point guard in this draft behind John Morant. You have Dylan Windler, who's a sharpshooter, and you have potentially the steal of the draft in Kevin Porter Jr. I thought they just made all the right moves, and I don't know if Kevin Love, it all rides around Kevin Love. If Kevin Love can play 60 to 65 games, I could definitely see this team making the play. Okay, let me stop. They're not going to make the playoffs, but I could definitely see this team being a mid to low 30 team if Kevin Love plays. So yeah, that's just my opinion. I think it is kind of a reach. I mean, I don't know. I have some fan bias, I guess you could say, for the Cavs, but yeah. And moving on to my last underrated team is the Rockets. Now, around the league, analysts have said that, there's 4 contenders right now. You have the 2 LA teams, the Sixers and the Bucks. But I definitely feel like the Rockets should be in that list, considering the fact that the only reason why the Rockets aren't champions right now is because of the Golden State Warriors. I mean, how many teams have been the Golden State Warriors over the last, 4 or 5 seasons? I think it was only 2, the Cavs and the Raptors. So that says a lot, first off. And now the Warriors are no more. The team was good. You had Chris Paul, James Harden, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, Clint Capella. That's a pretty good starting 5. But now you traded Chris Paul away to Oklahoma for Russell Westbrook, and if it works out, man, this team is going to be deadly, bro. I mean, you talk about 2 guys who can give you 30 and 10 on any given night. More than Russ, maybe not. He's not in that stage anymore. I mean, he took a backseat last year to Paul George, but I could definitely see Russ improving this year, and I really want Russ to have an efficient, strong year. I could definitely see him averaging like 21 to 24 points per game, 8 assists, 8 rebounds, and I want him to shoot efficient. Efficient for him is probably 45% and above. Improve on his threes, improve on his free throws, and I think James Harden and Russell Westbrook can help each other, and I just hope it succeeds, man. These guys are best friends, so hopefully they'll be able to make it work, and I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do, but I definitely think that they are title contenders for this upcoming year. And don't write them off. They're going to possibly, scare a lot of teams, and they're going to shock a lot of people, and I do believe they will. Don't be surprised if this team makes the Western Conference Finals or potentially even the finals. You never know. You never know. With a team with this much firepower, I could definitely see it. But that's going to do it for my underrated list. Now, moving on to my overrated list, let's start it off with the Pacers. Now, I'm still kind of iffy on the Pacers. They did make some good moves. You draft Goga Bitadze. I don't know. That move was kind of head scratcher to me, considering that you have Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner. You sign or trade for, I guess you could say, Malcolm Brogdon, and then you sign Jeremy Lamb. You also traded for T.J. Warren. All good pickups, great pickups. But I mean, still, it's kind of iffy. I mean, Malcolm Brogdon is like, I think he's reached his peak, or he's reached the ceiling. I don't see him maybe getting plentiful better than he is right now. I think for his career, he'll probably be a 15, 16, 17 point per game guy. And I mean, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, especially on 50, 40, 90. That's not a bad thing, but I don't know. I think this is his ceiling. Jeremy Lamb, I don't know how much he can improve from what he did last year, especially being on a bad team. And T.J. Warren, same thing. I think T.J. Warren's case, he is a great NBA player, but I think his case was just putting up great stats on a bad team. I think that's just what it was. I don't know if he'll put up the 17 on 40% three-point shooting that he did last year, but he should probably get near that. But my two biggest concerns for this team is their wing depth and Victor Oladipo. Their wing depth, if you just look at their small forward position, besides T.J. Warren, it's not really much. Who else is going to play? Azeel Johnson, and I'm pretty sure he's more of a forward than he's a three. They just signed Justin Holiday just as I'm making this video. He can play the three, but I don't know how much he can give you there. But I mean, yeah. And then Victor Oladipo too. He's your star player, and reports are coming out that he probably won't be back until the new year. So I don't know. Maybe that can affect them, internally and how their team performs. Especially, we don't know what their schedule is. They could have, a hard schedule to start off, and that'll just be worst case scenario for them, because if you start off horrible, you get into a hole that is too big to dig out of. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm just really iffy. If Victor Oladipo obviously was playing, I have a different, mindset on this team. But without Victor, I don't know how far this team can go. But yeah, moving on to my next team. This could potentially start some controversy also, but it's the Utah Jazz. Now, hear me out before you guys, spam up my comment section with, horrible messages. I think the Utah Jazz are going to be a great team this year. I definitely think they're going to be a mid to high 50-win team in the regular season. But how far are they going to make it in the playoffs is the biggest question for me. My problem with the Jazz is they don't have that superstar that all of these title contenders have. I mean, you talk about with the LA teams, they, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kawhi, PG. In the East, the Sixers, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Milwaukee, you got Giannis. And then even in the West, as I just discussed, the Rockets, James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I think that's something that the Jazz lack. Now, Donovan Mitchell, don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic player. He's a guy who averaged, I believe, 24 points per game last year as the first option. I can definitely see him getting to that 26 to 27 mark, but is he a superstar player? I don't really know. He hasn't shown that yet, at least, yet. What he's going into is his third season, so he's still relatively young. And then Mike Conley, I have a lot of praise for Mike Conley. It's a shame that he has not made an All-Star game. That's really crazy to me, but I don't know. I feel like he just had his best years. He can be injured a lot. Is he on the decline? I don't know. I don't think so, but I feel like this pairing will be good. But then again, it's talk about their defense. I mean, they lost out on Jay Crowder and Derek Favors, two big defensive pieces for you guys, and you replace those guys with Bojan Bogdanovic. I mean, Bojan Bogdanovic is another player that I should talk about. He's 30 years old, and he just had his best NBA career, but it was in a contract year. We see a lot of players always go off in their contract years, and then when they get that money, it doesn't turn out very well. I think it'll be different for Bojan, though, because he's only getting around 17 mil, so, it's not something crazy, but I don't know. I think offensively this team will be good, but defensively I think this team takes a hit. Like I said earlier, you're losing out on your key defensive guys, and you're in the West. The West is very stacked, and God forbid, but Mike Conley, with his injury history, one injury can take that all away from you. Maybe you go from the 3rd seed to like the 6th seed, or something like that. So I don't know. But like I said earlier, I definitely see this team as being a high seed in the regular season, but it's the playoffs that kind of scare me. I don't know. They lack that real star power. Now, Donovan Mitchell could come out and have an amazing year. You know, he could be a 28 point per game guy, but I just don't know if that happens. I could definitely see him being a 25, 26 point per game guy this year. But we'll see. We'll see. You know, that's just my opinion. I think this team could go far if, you know, you have a Blazers type situation last year where you get, you know, on the good side of the bracket and you're not playing the top teams yet. But again, I mean, we'll see. But the last team I want to talk about for my overrated teams is the OKC Thunder. Now, it's not overrated in the sense that, you know, they'll be, you know, a great team this year. I think it's overrated in the sense of what they got back for the trades that they made. Now, the Paul George trade, let's discuss that first. The picks are good, but I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical because are the Clippers going to be bad, you know, 7 years? The Clippers are a team that always makes great moves, you know. They're always successful, so I don't know if they'll be, you know, a bad team in 7 years. And then talking about the Russell Westbrook trade, the picks that they got back, they're all protected. I'm pretty sure there's 2 top 4 protected picks and 2 top 20 protected picks. So those picks are all iffy picks, you know, and you're basing your, you know, rebuild and your success in the future off of picks, off of what ifs, you know. Most teams that have successful rebuilds are, you know, like right now, like the Hawks, they already have their established guys. You know, the Mavericks already have their established guys. The Grizzlies and the Pelicans already have their established guys. The Thunder don't. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think, will be a good point guard for the future, but besides him, who else are you really going to use in that rebuild? Hamidou Diallo, I don't know how much more he can improve. I think he will probably improve more, but it's just a thing of how much more. Terrence Ferguson, I don't know. But again, we'll see. I don't really like to talk about the Thunder that much because their whole future, like I said, is just based off stuff that is going to happen 7-8 years down the line. You know, it's so hard to discuss that because a lot can change in 7 to 8 years. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. It's So Sports, and I'm out. Peace.